Hello, 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 and welcome, networkers. This is Scott Cook with Freedom Unleashed, and here's some great training for you. I know we all have very hectic schedules in today's world, and that's why I'm particularly appreciative of your time. You know, for the past 45 years, I was doing what I was taught and programmed to do. Go to school, get a job, and work, and then try to squeeze in family time. And if I was lucky, some time for friends. You know, unknowingly, my parents taught me a lie, a dying dinosaur of a life model. And that model no longer exists in today's world. They had no way of knowing that they'd be the last generation to ride that wave. See, in their day, loyalty was a two-way street between employee and employer. But that died many decades ago. And along with that concept, the freedom to enjoy life to the fullest and obtain financial security and independence also died. Well, these past 6 years, I've changed my direction. I no longer focus on exchanging my time for a dollar. I focus on exchanging my results for a dollar. It is the new model of the new economy. And if you don't recognize it, you'd better take a good look at it. It's here, it's going to stay, and you need to embrace it. So, like you, I've found my exit strategy, and I'm working hard on it. I now have a career that, when approached with authenticity and honor and integrity, has its own foundation in making real, genuine connections with people to share life and experiences. It's a way to sincerely help others through focused intent and allows me to be passionate about what I do every single day. It's helped me rekindle old friendships and forge new ones. And some of those new ones are attending this very training series. I now have brand new memories and bonds being made that cannot have a price placed on them. And I'm so grateful for being shown that there is a better way. And for the time freedom to focus on what's truly important in life. The ability to positively affect others and watch the results. And I get paid to do this. Wow. So I'd like to share with you all exactly what subjects we'll cover in the advanced training course. We're going to delve deeply into the 7 gateway skills that one must master in order to become a successful professional in our business, network marketing. Finding prospects. Inviting prospects, presenting to prospects, follow-up, closing the prospect, getting people started, and promoting events. And so, we begin our journey. We'll start at the beginning of both our journey to acquire the right skills and the beginning of this process. We will learn finding prospects and building our list. I'm going to share some information with you now which was recently given to me by one of my mentors. And this information hit so close to my heart, and it addressed such a very basic task, the first task required to succeed in network marketing. It's one that I believe most reps and distributors, including myself, either have a very lazy attitude and approach towards, or are unsure about how to perform the task. Many times, all of us have heard this many times, build your list. But how can you do that easily? This information about that very subject was so good when it came to me, and so different from what I've been taught before, that I wanted to share it as soon as I could. Now, I've not tried all of these concepts yet, but you can rest assured that starting tomorrow, I will. So let's talk about endless prospects. We'll start with a discussion about attitude. Attitude is everything. Zig said that your attitude, not your aptitude, determines your altitude. Attitude is everything when it comes to talking to people consistently, talking to people in a way that's attractive, talking to people and accepting the fact that some are going to say no, some are going to say maybe, and some are going to say yes. So whatever we do, we need to inspire others. And what we want to do is just fall in love with the process. Here are some attitudes that we want to discuss. Now, each of you could create a whole vision, a specific vision around your attitude when it comes to inviting people to take a look at your opportunity. You could write a whole script about who you are relative to your attitude regarding inviting people. You could have an attitude of gratitude so that you're just grateful to have the opportunity to share it with other people. And you're grateful for people who just tell you the truth, even if their truth is no. Because maybe that's how you get to the yeses. So you could have that attitude of, look at it this way. In a deck of cards, there are 52 cards, and there are only 4 aces in that deck. So you could adopt that attitude of the more people who tell you no and maybe, the closer to an ace you are getting. You've got to turn the cards over. The closer you are to those yeses as you go through the no's and maybes. Because we know that they're in there. Those aces are there. So you can have the attitude of getting more excited about the inevitability of your success because of the people who tell you no and maybe. Because that just brings you closer to the ones who are ready. See, you can have excuses, or you can have excellence and success. Excuses is an attitude. So you want to take a look at your vision. Do you have a vision now that's loaded with excuses or with excellence? Here's some typical excuses. And I ask you now, do you have this conversation going on in your head? Nobody wants to do this. That's the one that especially new people, they kind of adopt that story. And that story becomes a vision. They adopt that story after they talk to 5 or 6 or 7 people, and everybody says no. So they kind of just gravitate into this story of nobody wants to do this. They get a few people that don't respond to their text messages or emails, and they make up in their mind that everybody's too busy. Or they adopt, this isn't a good time to talk to people. Or, I don't know who to talk to. Now that's a story that paralyzes people. You can have excellence. And excellence is just a story about falling in love with the process. And that our job in building a network is just simply to be the messenger, not the message. Remember, we can't control whether or not people are ready to do this. You know, they've got a lot of other things going on in their lives. They might have an attitude about network marketing. They've got family. They've got a job. They've got spouses. They've got recreation. They've got lots of other things they're involved with. And they've got their own attitude about money, about wealth building, about financial freedom, and about selling. And there isn't anything you can do about that. What you can do is just be an extraordinary role model. You can have fun and you can fall in love with the process. You can understand that in your story, you're just the messenger. You're not the message. Your job is just to ask people to take a look and then give them a tool and let the tool be the message and do the work. All of this can be in your story. And inevitably, if you choose to believe in the established numbers, if you choose to believe in the 4-year career business plan, if you'll just fall in love with the process and post the numbers and track your stats so you actually know where you might be need to be shored up. Is it your invite that needs work? Is it your presentation that needs work? Maybe it's just connecting with people initially that needs some work. So add all of that to your story and vision. Create a vision in your mind about how much fun it is to connect with people and how fluid and creative you are around inviting, and how much you love to be curious about people. And just ask those intuitive, agendaless questions that draw you into the soul of other people and captivate them. And have them find you interesting because you're interested in them. Get rid of your commission breath. So you can have a story about how hard this is, how nobody wants to do it, about how people don't call you back, about how people don't care, about how people don't respect you. And you can own that story. Or you can just recognize that people that you're looking for are the people who are ready. The focal point of our lives is when opportunity and preparation meet. And you are the opportunity. All you're looking for are the people who are ready. Right now is the time for them to look at a product, to look at an opportunity. You're just looking for those people. And all you have to do is look at the statistics of network marketing. 475,000 join one of a couple thousand network companies across the world. 175,000 people a week join one of the 600 to 700 companies in the United States. Every week. So build all of this into your story and your vision. Fall in love with the process. Fall in love with the business plan and just do your job. Your job is pretty simple. It's to connect and invite. So build all of that into your story and vision. Fall in love with the process. Fall in love with the business plan. Do your job. Let's talk about the meat of this training session. Where do you find the people to connect with? Where do you find people to have that ice-breaking conversation with? Where do you find people to be curious about? Where do you find people to be interested in so you can continue to fill your pipeline every day? The first place you find people are people that you know and love. That's just sitting down and writing a list out. If you had an unlimited budget and you were inviting people to your wedding, and that unlimited budget you had, who would you love to have come to your wedding? Those are people you know. Those are people you've heard called your warm market. But most people, when they sit down and develop a list like that, as long as they don't prejudge the people on the list, they'll end up with 200 or 300 people on that list. At least 200 or 300 people. Of course, prejudging people keeps people off your list. Prejudging sounds like this. They wouldn't be interested. Or they make too much money. Or they're too busy. Or they don't have the right personality. Or anything like that. You don't know that about people. You just make that up about them. And that's a story. What if you made up something different? Like, I don't know, maybe I'll let them decide if they're a candidate, because my job is to just be the messenger. So the first thing you want to do in building your contact database, in building your pipeline for people that you're going to connect with, is create and maintain and continually add to that list of people that you know. Call them your warm market. Perhaps it's friends and family. Make that list and keep it current. Look at what those people do for a living. Look at whether or not they're on Facebook or whether or not you have good contact information for them to make that list super valuable and super attractive to you. One of the first things you can do is, if you've got 200 or 300 people on that list, say if you have current contact information for them. So the first thing you can do is create a great database of people that you know by name, occupation, where they live. You know, where they live is really important because you're going to be thinking about who else is in my opportunity somewhere in the country that might be close to the people on your list. And of course, what do they do for a living? Because what people do for a living can trigger your creativity for you to create a vision of why your opportunity might be a great opportunity for them. So that's your first source. Write that down. Number one, people you know. Keep in mind, you may not be immediately working this list, but write the list down. You're going to need it. Number one is people you know. There ought to be 200 to 300 people on that list. And it ought to grow every time you think of somebody. A great exercise is to sit down once a month. Maybe sit down with your spouse. Brainstorm. Look at the list you already have and set a goal. You know what? Let's spend 20 minutes and let's put 30 or 40 or 50 people on this list every month that aren't on there now. People that we just forgot about. So that's your first source. Are people that know you. These are people that you may not necessarily know. You may not know them at all, but they know you. Because of positions that you've held in your life or of leadership positions, it's where people just know you. Maybe it could be a club, gym, schools, church, or some kind of association that you belong to. So what you do with those is you think about all those organizations that you belong to throughout your life, where maybe you didn't actually remember those people. Maybe you don't consider them in your warm market. They're not friends of yours, but they know you. Or they may not even remember you. But if you said, hey, you know, our kids went to the same school, or I'm in the same club, and that's how I got your name, then there's an immediate connection with these people. So the way to create this list is to figure out what club or association it is, and find out how you can get your hands on the list. Maybe you can rent the list. Maybe you can buy the list. Maybe you can borrow the list. Maybe you already have the list from when you were really active in that group. Get that list and create that as a second list in your contact database. Some of these could have thousands of people in them, and you may not actually know the people on the list. They may not actually know you unless you were in a position of leadership. But the fact that you could reach out to them and say, hey, how I got your name is we're both part of this same group. Might be a school class, might be a church, might be a club, might be some kind of trade association. That's an icebreaker. The second source of prospects could have thousands of people in it, like I'm talking about. Now, if you don't want to take the time, if you're not good at researching contact information, give that job to someone else. You can go out and hire an online assistant on the internet to do it for less than $10 an hour. Tell them, here is a list of people from a group. I need current contact information on them. Or give it to a kid. Put him on the internet and have him get their email addresses. That's what you really need. So that's your second database. Is people that you've worked with. So they may not be close friends. This is a similar database to the leadership database, the clubs, the associations, church database. But specifically think about all the places that you've worked in your life and think about how you could get the list of people that then or now work at that company. And that gives you immediate common ground, relatedness with those people. You might not be able to get them all, but just think creatively about getting a list of people who worked or work at that company. And how can I reach out to them with connectedness and relatability? Because I used to work there. That's a third source for a database, and it could have hundreds or thousands of people in that database. This might be another great opportunity for you to delegate to somebody. Hey, I want you to go in and get the email addresses of all these people that work at that company. And then reach out to them. Not all at once, but maybe 5 or 10 a day. Start out with something like, hey, my name's Scott Cook. You don't know me, but I worked at Motorola from 1979 to 1985. Boom, instant connectiveness. Now, when you start that way, people are going to listen to the rest of the story. So that's who you are. That's how you're connected. So you're not just reaching out to them out of the blue. There's relatedness there, and they're going to listen to the rest of the story. And the rest of the story would be you seeing if they're open to taking a look at something. So that's your third database. You know, if you'll think about these in terms of separate databases, and think about the potential of the numbers of people you could have in each of these databases. Think about number 1. That's 200 or 300 people. Think about number 2. It's at least in the hundreds, if not the thousands. Think about number 3. It's probably at least in the 50 to 100 range, if not in the potentially thousands of people. And how do you get them on a good database? Delegate it to someone to get their email address. Next is social media. You know, you can study all kinds of information on the internet. There's all kinds of people who will teach you the best way to connect with people on social media for $50 or $100 or $1,000 or $3,000. I'll teach you right now in 5 minutes for nothing. How you connect with people on social media. Let's just take Facebook to start with. So you can do some things on Facebook like track people that like and comment on your posts. What you don't do then is to blast or post something on there all about your opportunity or products. That's spamming. It's way too salesy and it is repel marketing. And don't send them a private message. Would you take a look at XYZ? The really cool thing about social media is that you have the opportunity to learn about people, to be interested in people. In normal situations outside social media, you can't just send an email to someone you worked with 20 years ago and just start being curious about them in the email. You can do this with social media sometimes. Of course, there are some people you'll have in your database that the best approach will be a straight-on approach. This is why I'm contacting you. I know it's out of the blue. You may not be interested. It may not be for you. And that's okay. But I'm long gone from Motorola, and here's why. And here's my story. And here's something to look at. Can you tell me if you're interested? But what you do on Facebook is go to school on people. Just click on the About section of their page. Learn about their family. Learn about their work. Learn about their hobbies. What movies they watch. What music they like. What TV shows they like. What sports things they like. Look at the fan pages that they like. Look at who their family members are. Look at their friends list. Are there mutual friends that you both share? Scroll down on their timeline for 6 to 9 months. Maybe start commenting on some of their posts. Or send them a private message and find something about them where you can create a connection and relatability. So when you connect with someone on Facebook, it's not just, hi Joe, I saw you like my post. What do you do in your spare time? Look hard for things in Facebook where there's connectedness and relatability. Maybe they visited the same place you visited. Maybe they like the same sports team that you like. Or maybe they like the same kind of fan pages that you like. Personal motivation, some sort of activity you love. When you find some connectivity, just reach out to them and say something like, I noticed that you are a Denver Broncos fan. So am I. Have you been to any games? Just reach out, break the ice, start a conversation. What you want to do is build relationships. Be curious about people. Be interested. Be sincere. See if you can develop a dialogue and be patient and wait for the opportunity to introduce them. This is a part of attraction marketing. I can teach you an entire course on nothing but attraction marketing and how to attract and draw the right people to you. I can teach those strategies and techniques, but that's not what this video is about. If you do want to know more about this online method of attracting the right people to you, just give me a shout. LinkedIn. Another one I want to tell you about, because LinkedIn is all about resumes. It's all about what people do for a living. You can learn everything professionally about people on LinkedIn. So use it to just study up on people. You can do searches on LinkedIn. You can search for people that are interested in or have ever been in network marketing. People that are currently in network marketing. Not to reach out and recruit them, but when you find a networker, all of you in the business have an extraordinary opportunity to offer a tool to them. Ask them if they've ever read The 4-Year Career by Richard Bliss Brooke. Build a relationship where you're coming from service, coming from a need to learn about them, about their struggles, and about how you might be able to help them. Now, how could that end up being something that could help you build your business? Well, if you look at the transition and churn in network marketing, if you're in connection and you're serving 100 different network marketers, you're serving them, inspiring them, championing them to succeed in their company. That has to be the purity of spirit that you come with. You have to come from service. And what you can recognize is this. If you're in a relationship with 100 different networkers and you're serving them, over a year's period of time, at least half of them are going to fall out of their company. They're going to lose interest. It's not going to work for them. They're not going to have good training from their upline. And some of them are going to drop out of network marketing. Some of them are going to get in another company. So you can be a candidate. They might ask you about what you are doing for success. Maybe they already know what you're doing after you build that relationship. So there might be an opportunity for you to introduce them ethically to your opportunity. A little caution here. Only after you've championed them, only after they reach out to you and say, tell me about XYZ, then you can move forward with helping them. So there's lots of opportunity in social media. Those are just a couple of them. Now, this is one of my favorite sources of learning about people and meeting people. If your story is that you don't know a lot of people, just pick up your local paper. Now, the best paper to do this with is not the local paper that reports on all the car accidents in your town and the crime. The best paper to do this with is the paper that focuses on the arts and the community and the people in your community. Most of these are usually weekly or monthly publications, and once a week you just go out and grab those magazines and newspapers and sit down with them. Look at the companies that are advertising in those publications. Look at the articles about people in those papers. Look for opportunities to go to community events. They might be book signings. They might be lectures of some kind. There's all kinds of events. And commit to yourself that you'll go to those events. Not to meet everybody and pass out your cards and give them samples, but to go to those local events and make it a goal to meet and connect with just one person. Maybe you read an article about a person who did something great in your community. Track down their email address. Look for them on Facebook or LinkedIn and send them a note. Congratulate them. Look to build a connection and a relationship. There's all kinds of opportunities if you'll just read your local papers. Another list is people that you do business with. Oftentimes these folks won't show you up on the other databases that we've talked about. So just sit down and make a list of everybody that you do business with. Your pool guy, your dry cleaner, your housekeeper, your auto mechanic, your insurance agent, your attorney, your local cable company receptionist, your CPA, anybody that you pay money to, anybody that you've trusted to do business with. This gives you the opportunity. It gives you the right to ask them to at least look at doing business with you. It can be as simple as that. So maybe you've got a CPA. You're paying that person to do your books or do your taxes. And you have the perfect opportunity to ask them to do business with you, to just at least take a look. So make a list of everybody you do business with. Now, there's another database. Craigslist. Craigslist is an interesting place to explore what's going on in your community and who's doing what. So if you've never spent any time on Craigslist, just take an hour sometime and explore Craigslist. Look at the jobs that people are offering. Look at the gigs. Look at the resumes. Those are people that are looking. Look at the services. Look at the discussion forums. Just troll these and look for opportunities to connect with people. Maybe it's because of what they do for a living, or maybe they're selling, or what kind of people they're looking to employ. Whatever info you can glean, look for connectivity. Boards. Now this is a fun one. Make a map of every bulletin board in your town, or in a 15 or 20 mile radius, and visit those bulletin boards about once a month. Pull business cards off of those bulletin boards, pull phone numbers off, take pictures of flyers. Look for opportunities to connect with people. The kind of people that you're going to find on bulletin boards are perfect reps and distributors. You'll find chiropractors, massage therapists, people that do personal development, pet sitters, pet walkers, physical trainers, etc. And those boards cycle about once every month. So if you visit all the bulletin boards in your town once a month, you're going to get fresh contacts. So look at the people's contact info. What are they promoting? Who are they promoting that they are? Then just think creatively. How can I reach out to this person and create a connection and relationship? What is it that would have them listen to me? It's almost always going to be based on what they do for a living. So if you do this once a month, you're going to have tons of new people in your database. Swag. Swag is a great place to get people to ask you about your business. Wearing apparel while living your life. Wearing a pin while out. Carrying a tote or backpack that's been customized with your logo, and having samples always at your fingertips will get people to ask you, what is that all about? Or where did you get that? Now, I'll caution you, you really want to focus on branding yourself and not your primary company. Anybody can Google the name of a company, and then you lose out on a customer if they order. So this is a method of offline attraction marketing. Whether it's shirts, hats, or just using the product in public, you're going to get people asking you about what you do. Being involved in a pet and human nutrition network company, I constantly wear this 4-inch button that says, "Ask me about the Healthy Pet Challenge." What a great icebreaker. This slide isn't about recycling your containers. This is about recycling the no's and not now's and maybes. If you take all the different databases that we just talked about and developed each of them to the fullest extent that you can develop them, so you've got 7 or 8 different databases that you can create. Now, if you'll just play at a pace of a minimum of 1 person a day, but preferably 2 a day, and keep track of your stats, I'll promise you that if you do 1 a day for 6 months, you'll be in the top 1% of all networkers in the world in their first 6 months in the business. Why? Because most people never consistently invite that many people. And they don't invite that many people because they become lazy with their lists. They don't have that many databases in front of them, and they don't have these lists staring at them. The psychological value of having 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 lists of people that total 500 to 5,000 people on them. Those lists in aggregate, the enormity of them, they scream at you every time, every day. Hey, there's lots and lots of people to contact here. And that doesn't give you room to make up a story about you don't know who to talk to. So the bigger the list, the louder it speaks and cries to you. The people on those lists are telling you, hey, call me. Let's look at that pace of 1 a day for a year. You will have invited 365 people to just take a look. Now, out of those 365 people, how many do you think you'd actually enroll? Well, at the pace of 1 a day, you're probably going to enroll somewhere between 20 and 30 people in a year. So if you enrolled 20 or 30 people in a year and you invited 365, how many of those 365 are classified as still a maybe or an absolute no? Yeah, like 330 people. So in a year 2, guess who your best prospects are? Right, everybody who said not now or maybe. Everybody who didn't call you back because they had other focus at the time. Those 330 people are the absolute AAA best prospects you can talk to. Why? Because they didn't say no, and they didn't become a maybe, and they didn't respond to you. Not because they aren't interested in becoming healthier or getting legal advice at a discounted fee or getting their pets healthier or achieving their dreams and aspirations for freedom, travel, and independence. They're interested in all that stuff. That's not why they're on the list of 330 people. And they're not on the list of 330 people because they aren't interested in getting an extra $1,000 a month coming in. They're very interested in that. They're on the list of 330 people because they just weren't ready. So what's your job in year 2? You ask them again. You ask them if now is a good time. Let me ask you a question. How many of you said no, maybe, or didn't return a text or email or phone call the first time you were prospected? I'll bet it's like 75 or 80% of you. So what that should prove to you is that just because people say no or not now, just because they blow you off, doesn't mean they aren't interested in better health for themselves and their pets, and they're not interested in more money. All it means is that in the moment that you approach them, they just didn't have the bandwidth for it. They couldn't even consider it. And they made up all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't like to sell. I don't want to get involved in those MLM things. They just make that stuff up. None of that is true. So this is your AAA database. It's everybody who said no or maybe. Recycle it. The 1 a day. If you'll just prospect, if you'll just invite 1 person a day to look at the opportunity, that's 365 people a year. You're going to personally sponsor 20 or 30 people. Now, is that enough to build an empire? Well, depending on the opportunity, barely. And it's not the right pace. but it still puts you in the top 1%. Not of all networkers in the world in terms of income, but it puts you in the top 1% of the people that are playing the game with the same amount of experience that you have. So if you talk to one person a day, 365 a year, and you've personally sponsored 20 or 30 people, by the end of the year one, what I'm saying is that you can look at 100 people who've joined 100 different companies, or even all the same company, and then look at them a year later. There's only 1 to 3 who have personally sponsored 20 or 30 people. And you can do that by just connecting with one person a day. Here's what happens if you connect with one person a day. In 30 to 60 days of doing what I'm teaching you to do here, you're also going to be in the 1% bracket of people that are in the groove and have created momentum for themselves. You'll fall in love with the process. It will become a habit for you. It's going to become natural. It's going to become fun for you. And then you're going to easily see yourself bumping that up to 2 a day. Now, think about 2 a day. At some point in this process, you're going to get good enough at this, comfortable enough at this, habitual enough at this, natural enough at this, that you could ratchet up your game to 2 a day pretty easily. And like a school of dolphins, you'll find that it gets easier the more you surround yourself with winners. Now, look what happens when you connect with 2 a day. That's over 700 people a year. You're going to personally sponsor in a year's time 40, 50, 60 people. You can take this stat to the bank. All of my several mentors that have reviewed this training have never met anyone in their combined 126-year careers who sponsored 60 people a year into a legitimate company and did not build an empire. Think about that. You're the leader, and the leader sets the pace. And if the pace you set is 50 or 60 a year, that's going to have a huge influence on everybody in your group. And they're going to have a tendency to rise to that standard. So you duplicate that level of effort, that level of leadership. You start at 1 a day. When you get comfortable and fall in love with the process, it's a habit for you to connect to people. You bump it to 2 a day. So the last thing I want to give you is the definition of an invite. I want to make sure you're all clear about what the definition of an invite is. So when I say invite, 1 person or 2 people a day, what does that mean? An invite is not you sending a message out on Facebook, what do you think about the Giants? That's not an invite. That's a connection. An invite is not you sending a first exposure tool to somebody and you don't hear back from them. That's a connection effort. It's not even a connection, and it's definitely not an invite. The definition of an invite is when you get a response. So you can qualify an invite when you get a no, a yes, or something in between, which we can call maybe or a not now, which usually is just all kinds of story and smoke screen, to be honest with you. But if you don't get a response, that's not an invite. All you did was launch a missile. You closed your eyes and launched a missile. You can launch 100 of those a day and not get any results. What's meaningful is if someone saw what you sent and they heard your message, and then they responded. Maybe they watched a video. Maybe you gave them an opportunity to try some samples, and they either declined, accepted, or they gave you some story about it. Maybe you sent them a wake-up call video presentation, and you got a response. Even if they watched half of it, they got the message. And their response is no. That's an invite. So you can only call it an invite if you got a response from somebody, a dialogue, a conversation. Now, it is essential for you to keep track of your stats. You should be able to sit down with your coach, your sponsor, your mentor, and show them everybody you invited, and show them what you sent to those people, what the response was to the invite, and what happened next. You should be able to show this info over a 90-day period of time. By week, by month, how many presentations you did, either by yourself or by connecting with someone else who did it for you. Well, like the presentation video I make available on my team training website for my team. They can use that. And how many people you enrolled. Those are the stats that you want to monitor and keep. Those are results. Invites, presentations, enrollments. When you keep those stats, they actually coach you. That's what the stats do for you. They teach you right off the bat. So if you looked at your stats after 1 month and legitimate invites was 15, what would that tell you about your 4-year career? What's the crystal ball saying for the next 12 months? How much money can you predict you're going to make next year or 5 years from now based on that stat and that pace? It tells you that you're going to be frustrated. You won't be happy at that pace. The team that you have sponsored isn't going to be inspired because the leader isn't cutting it. The leader's not making money. You have to play at the pace that makes a difference. Your stats will automatically coach you as to whether you're on track or not. I trust that this information has helped you. However, a huge caution here. Don't let this information just sit in your brain. In order for it to be of utmost benefit to you and your business, you have to put it to use to get the results we talked about. So your homework for this week's session is for you to take action. Take massive action. The more you accomplish making lists and using these strategies, the more results you will see immediately. And for the long term, make these practices habits. Thanks for joining us on this training video. To your success.